Hey guys, so I know that this video is on how to bed in your brakes, but before we start that video, there are some important safety precautions to go over prior to taking your car on the road. Very briefly, I am going to show you how to install new rotors and pads. If you have never changed your brakes and rotors before, make sure that you follow these safety tips. Let's go ahead and talk about the tools we will need and what we will need to do to complete this job safely. First, you'll need a torque bar to torque down your bolts to the specific torque specifications for your vehicle. You'll need an impact gun with a 1/2-inch fitting, that way you can use your 1/2-inch sockets with it. A flathead screwdriver to pry off the wheel cover, 2 cans of brake cleaner, new rotors and pads, paper towels to clean your rotors, your lug wrench from your trunk, a car jack, and preferably a jack stand. First, start off by removing the wheel cover. Make sure that your emergency brake is snug. Before you can jack up your vehicle, you have to crack the wheel lugs in a star pattern. Once they are loose, you can raise your car. Now we can jack up the car. All cars have jack points. Place the car jack under the jack point and make sure that there is enough room for the jack stand to also fit on the jack point. Use your impact gun to remove the already loosened bolts, then take the wheel and place it under the vehicle. This is what a bedded-in rotor versus a non-bedded-in rotor looks like. The goal is to get the zinc coating on the new rotor melted into the new pads. When you get a rotor like this, generally it comes in a plastic bag, and that will leave a coating on here that you want to get off. Generally, you start with this side first and then flip over to the other side so that the bottom does not have to touch the ground or any dirt whatsoever. After cleaning your rotors, go ahead and install them. As you can see here, a little bit of the zinc coating is rubbing off onto the paper towel after cleaning them, but that is just fine. Just go ahead and install it. Here are some images of the bolts that you will have to remove. To do this, you will need to find the correct torque specs for all of the bolts associated with the wheel lugs, guide pins, and caliper bolts. These are the 3 types of bolts that you will have to make sure are properly tightened down. The first 2 bolts that you will need to remove are called the guide pins. In the second picture, these bolts are called the caliper bolts. Once you have everything removed, go ahead and put everything back on. Use the torque specs to put these bolts back on. Now that we are done here, let's jump in the Audi and get started. One reason to bed in your brakes is that it can save you from having an accident by reducing stopping distances. It will increase stopping power, and it will introduce your rotors to a high temperature to prepare the metal for the future. Before we begin, it is imperative to remember a few things. Here are the rules that you have to keep in mind while you are doing it. 1. You can never come to a complete stop until your rotors are cool. 2. Never allow ABS to kick in. 3. Never do this procedure in the rain or allow your tires to get wet so that they do not slide. That way ABS does not kick in. 4. Never jab the brake pedal. Only apply pressure in one quick but easy motion and only press down 65% of the pedal and then let off. Start off by performing one easy stop just to set the pads and the calipers to ensure that they are making contact with the rotors. You can do this in your driveway just like I have. Keep in mind that it is important to never come to a complete stop because you could potentially create an imprint of the pad onto the rotor. If this happens, you will experience rattling in the steering wheel because your pads and rotors will no longer be making consistent contact. Now I am going to start off by performing 5 to 10 medium stops from 45 miles per hour to 10 miles per hour. You do not have to do 5 to 10 medium stops. It's just so you don't have to do it on the highway as many times. But if there's no one on the highway, you can skip the 45-mile-an-hour process and just go straight to the 65-mile-an-hour process to get it over with more quickly. Occasionally, you'll run into traffic like this. Just do your best to keep the car moving so that the pads do not create an imprint on the rotor. After that, you will want to perform 10 to 25 aggressive stops from 65 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour. Usually you do this on the highway because that's where you can do those speeds. Generally, I like to do this at night because there is no one on the road. But for the sake of this video, I'll do it during the day so you can see what I am doing. Finally, you want to coast for 20 to 30 minutes or more until your rotors and pads are cool. You have successfully bedded in your pads and rotors. Like and subscribe, hope you all like the video, and be sure to tell all your friends.